in the meta, you expect him to be able to play the Brigitte as well. So let's see, the Spark are going to come out with, so like you mentioned, well, you can see a lot of different setups. You do still have 3 supports with Zen, Lucio, and Brigitte. You're going to have a tank combination here of the Orisa plus Diva, and then you're going to play around Godspeed's McCree, see if he can get some picks at range.
It is really hard to shift a composition like Hangzhou's off of the point. You have to take the fight directly to them. You need to get past that Orisa. He's a flash by Godspeed. He's stunned immediately. The bubble target not getting stunned by that one at all. And there it is. Good open to the fight here for Hangzhou. Godspeed gets that damage on Gesture. The Discord Orb going a long way. And Guard over the edge early.
You see, almost, you saw Bazzi go over the edge here. He had to use the shield bash to get back onto the map. But now the combination that the Spark have right now, usually when you play Brigitte and McCree, you want the other team to dive you. That's what London has to do here with their Winston-based composition. It makes it even harder to dive the Brig in McCree when you have no smite playing Orisa. Orisa can fortify, she can use the halt. Really great shield at the time. You see the halt used there to just wrap everybody up.
No smite taking a little bit more damage than he otherwise would have liked, though. We need to take a sidebar, but the flank is there. Bidoshin saw the vulnerable Orisa and took his opportunity when it came, and that will open up this point for the Spitfire to retake. A team that has shown that they prefer not to play tanks if they can afford it. Going up against a team like Hangzhou, who definitely will play their own thing whenever. London look a lot more comfortable, though, playing that standard setup.
And the Spark just kind of played into exactly what London wanted them to do. When you play that Orisa, Brigitte, McCree comp, you want to stand your ground. You don't want to start to back up. What do they do as soon as the dive comes in? They start to back up. They start to separate. That's the type of thing that London wanted to get going.
I mean, No Smite took too much damage early in that fight. It forced him out of position. So, Gesture in over the top. Oh, Bazzi's in trouble. No help for him. Not as self-sustainable as he otherwise would have liked to have been. Normally you don't chase a Brigitte down like that one, but he got the drop on it. And London preempting that fight from Hangzhou, catching them on the wrong foot.
But London does use Rally and Transcendence at the same exact time.
What are your thoughts about that, Matt?
It may just be a little bit of a miscommunication because, like we mentioned, Guard comes in, plays the Brigitte. You probably don't want to stack both of those ultimates because now the Spark have a big advantage. All 3 support ultimates just against Nuss's sound barrier. You do have the Graviton Surge a profit here. Maybe you can force out 1 or 2 support ults. See how it plays out.
Again, Gesture to the high ground. Notice he doesn't commit to the low ground. Just giving a tickle right now, and that's the Graviton Surge. Self-destruct thrown in behind them. Guard's already down. London needed to clean that fight up early. Now they're in trouble. Try and perhaps stall out the point for as long as they possibly can, but they don't want to commit extra ultimates to this fight. They're not going to be too upset. Gesture says, okay, I'll go for the Primal Rage. Soundberry here. The Spitfire actually want to commit to this fight now. In the absence of anything else, over the edge goes Bazzi. And Gesture had a moment in the back line there, but good peel from Hangzhou. London Spitfire still control this point. They want to elongate this fight, make it costly for Hangzhou, and force them to really commit.
Yeah, the Primal Rage allows Gesture to stay alive. He gets really creative with the movement. So you see the self-destruct just used here by Rhea on the point, just trying to clear it out. London Spitfire looking really good to close out this first point.
Composure that the Spitfire were missing over the last week or so seems to have returned, at least on this map. Has he a little bit low? Can't be the front ladder he'd like to be on Brigitte, and there it is. Graviton, IDK just gets munched. And No Smite wasn't far behind. Now Bazzi has to step forward, and the Hangzhou Spark are forced into a disappointing trickle onto the point. Transcendence there from Bidoshin, keeps proper nice and topped up, and another Primal Rage from Gesture. Much better match from him so far, and overtime is done. Starting on the right foot of the London Spitfire, but the Spark out of the wrong side of the bed this morning by the looks of things. The Orisa composition does not pay off. London pressure and get results. Next round is right around the corner.
You just gotta keep moving forward.
One down, one to go for the Spitfire. That engine's really starting to get running here on Sunday afternoon now, I suppose, although it's esports morning for those that are familiar with it. We'd like to sleep in.
Yeah, video gamer hours. Morning can go all the way up till 5 p.m. in the afternoon.
We don't join the rest of society, really.
No. You know what's interesting about this series is that London, obviously, going through some adversity a little bit earlier in the season. And I would say the same with Spark, losing their match the other day. I think the biggest thing, though, is the experience, right? London kind of went through it all last year, right? The ups and downs, they know how to deal with it. Spark, being one of the newer expansion teams to the league, it's kind of like their first run at it, right? You lose that match to Houston the other day. It's like, how do you bounce back? You kind of got to learn by by trial here.
Teams will have to do that multiple times. It's a long season. And they're going to have to be able to be resilient enough to deal with the setbacks that come along the way. Notice the Prophet here has not been deeply involved in the fighting early on, just trying to get as much charge as he possibly can, but the Spitfire are able to repel no smite comfortably enough, and without that key engage tool, the Spark are not inclined to fight.
Prophet plays a little bit further back in that fight, but I think it's one of the things we've seen from him on Zarya in the limited time. Just stays alive. And it's so important on Zarya to stay alive. You keep your average energy. Your energy is directly tied to your damage. It's so important as he's going to get close to building up this grab here. 80% turns into, 90% pretty quick, as you see, just those alternate fires just chunking players down.
Prophet's looking very comfortable in this position. Jester, Primal Rage, but look at how low he is. It's likely that the Spark turned on him as soon as he used that ultimate early. Bidoshin gets 2 quick kills in the meantime. And you see the Spitfire just go one by one. Okay, Jester's now going to be the object of the enemy's attention. Prophet's going to charge up his shield. Now Prophet's going to start fighting. Well, Bidoshin now is freed up to do damage. Everyone in the Spitfire here in their own right is able to change the fight. And now they've got some big ultimates just to really impact the next engagement. 49% to 0, that's the grab, man.
And going through that small choke, the other team has the Graviton Surge. There's nothing you can do about it there. Prophet lays down the grab, and it's going to be Godsby using the grab here for the Spark as they want to fight this.
Very aggressive, but it may not have worked out for them here, showing that same tendency as Chengdu, who we saw last night or previously, that just didn't want to give up fights when they were ostensibly lost. The Spitfire say, okay, well, we commit our transcendence to your Graviton. It's a 1-for-1 trade, and we back up. We still have a sound barrier.
Already at 80% here for London, and the Spark go over, and they're going to play a Reinhardt-based comp here. They're just trying to take advantage of Gesture, but Gesture's going to have Primal Rage to just stay alive all the way through this.
Every single fight, he's been able to go Mad Monkey mode whenever he's really wanted. Self-destruct drop in by the Spitfire. It didn't find any target, but it split the Spark up, and Gesture is only adding to that displacement of their backline. Hangzhou like a bit of chaos, but they can't even get their ducks in a row in order to take this fight, and they're running out of time. They get a touch now. Ria drops in and then drops right on out very quickly. Got a quick bubble, but the Spitfire don't really damage it that much. That's the Graviton Surge, and No Smite is in the middle of it. It's a Maelstrom, and he won't be conscious to see the end of this one. It's going to be Godspeed, personal shield, knocked away on the point. 99 to 0 to Spitfire. Much better on map 1 in this series, and they take it with ease.
It is all London here in map number 1. 30 kills to 4 in favor of the London Spitfire. That's the dominance we saw last year.
No doubt about it. We got a break coming up, ladies and gentlemen. More to come on your Sunday. Strap yourself in. It's going to be a bumpy ride. We'll see you in a bit.
The Overwatch League is powered by Intel. Game, record, stream without compromise on Intel Core i7. And by Omen by HP, the official PC and display of the Overwatch League.
Hey everyone, we were really surprised to see Hangzhou struggle a little bit against the Outlaws on Friday. And so later I caught up with the team and they were telling me they were actually caught off guard by the loss too. And they said they were just having a really off day. And when they lost that first map, it really got into their heads. So hopefully the loss of this first round today won't really affect them in terms of their mental fortitude, and that maybe Hangzhou will actually pull off another win. Thanks, guys.
Thanks for that one, Emily. Interesting to get a read on some of these teams' mentalities coming out of a loss, especially over what is going to be a long league. Some teams seem to brush it off, they take it in stride. Others seem to be a little bit more introspective about it and sort of go back to the drawing board a bit.
And you don't know how the Spark came into the week in terms of their prep. Maybe they kind of overlooked the Outlaws because the Outlaws come into the week at 0-2. Yep. London obviously didn't have the greatest start to their season, but we know what they're capable of. So maybe they kind of put all their prep work into this match, but to come out and lose the first map, a lot like how they lost the first map against Houston, not a good sign for Spark fans.
Well, the thing is that teams may have sort of one, none, or 2 games a week, depending. The schedule differs between them. And again, if you have 2 matches a week, we've seen it in the past season, the Overwatch League, sometimes teams can only effectively prepare for one of those 2 matchups. They sort of, assume that they're going to be able to win one instinctively, and the other one they really need to do the homework. So Adora comes in here for Bazzi, which is interesting. He was definitely more of a backup damage-dealing player, in the past on these in these roles, and now comes into the main roster. So I'm curious to see if there's a specific role that's been laid out for him.
Yeah, we'll see if we see Gouche during this match. Sometimes the Spark like to swap out their main tanks between No Smite and Gouche. We talk about how good both of them are. They seem to be a little bit more effective with No Smite in the game, so they're going to stay with him here for map number 2. The other day, though, against the Outlaws, they were swapping them in and out between maps.
Again, your main tank is a very key part of your communication structure and just the way you play the game. I guess your color as a team can look so different with a different player at the helm in that role.
I mean, because they are the front line, right? They can see everything, with the pushes coming at
But they can't see behind them.
But they cannot see behind them. That is true, unless you're trying to, mouse around with the Reinhardt.
Obviously, with Reinhardt,
you're probably dead at that point.
If you hold both mouse buttons, you can look behind you while keeping your shield in place. Yeah. So that was a new thing.
But you'll probably die if you attempt to do that. And Nabani will be map number 2 here. And you need that shot caller in the front, and then you need somebody in the back line who's keeping track of ultimates, because with all that pressure coming at you in the Reinhardt role, it's like you can't keep track of your own team's ultimates, their ultimates, and still able to understand what you're going to do, push in, push out. So you need somebody in the back line to be able to shot call. You need somebody in the front line to be able to call those engages.
Matt, Numbani's a lot of fun, I think, as a map. It features a lot of context and situations where the attacking team needs to be able to access high and low ground, sometimes simultaneously, right? Especially on that first point.
Yes.
I think the Diva players from these 2 teams are probably 2 of the most interesting Divas in the league. I think where Rhea has been a superstar for the Hangzhou Sparks so far in this season. A lot of graviton surges eaten, a lot of damage being dealt from that position. Obviously, there's self-destruct. There's a lot of shock and awe elements to Diva's play, especially now it's much easier to tell when they've actually eaten up a graviton surge or something similar. Fury was always considered to be one of the best off-tanks as well.
Well, I was going to say, last year when we were doing a lot of our interviews with the players, who's the best off-tank in the league, who's the best Diva in the league, almost everybody says Fury, and across the board. He's not somebody when you watch the game when you're looking for these superstar crazy plays. But a lot of these Diva self-destructs, these big combos, really come off. Well, it's good placement with the self-destruct from the Diva player themselves, but it's really a lot of Reinhardt's charging or using the shatter, or Lucio booping players into it. It's a lot of the setup that goes into it.
And that's not something that necessarily will appear in the kill feed, by the way. If there's a Lucio boop associated with a sort of self-destruct, sometimes it's not credited. So that's definitely something to be looking out for in those last few moments before self-destructs, seeing how the enemy Reinhardt or how their shields in general are sort of made ineffective.
And those self-destruct kills are massive. The series that we saw earlier in the week between NYXL and the Valiant, Meko had 20 plus self-destruct kills to under 10 for the Valiant, and that ends up pushing NYXL over the line in the end. So getting those kills with the self-destruct, setting up those big combos, so important in this meta.
And now, of course, when we talked about Diva being a part of that setup, maybe not the entire story, there are unbelievable Divas in the league right now. Choi Hyobin has had fantastic performances. Space, Janu comes in as probably one of the highest acclaimed Divas from the Korean region. And they're very important right now. That it's very clear to see when your Diva player is excelling and when they are underachieving. Keep an eye out for that on this particular map. hopefully we see, you know, a little bit of that play weaved in with, you know, Winston and Reinhardt.
And D.Va is such a difficult hero to play in that, like, there's so many responsibilities. You have to use defense matrix for your main tank. You may have to go back and use it for a support. You have to be in a million places at once. It may not be like the most mechanically demanding hero, but in terms of just like having the mental space to deal with everything going on, it's extremely important and very hard.
And you left about 99 jobs of D.Va off that list, by the way.
I know.
Just for the purposes of time, because the Spitfire already looked like they want fancy a little bit of argy-bargy here on the high ground. So notice here that both teams are playing with Winston as their centerpiece main tank.
And the Spark come out with Winston on defense, because if they come out with Reinhardt, really a mobile tank, as Godspeed gets low. He gets healed up, though, here, so it should be able to sustain for a little bit. If you have Reinhardt on defense, London could have went back to the spawn, played a really DPS-heavy composition here, a lot of damage dealers, and just poked at them from a distance and been able to take this point.
You see, Gesture there had to jump out and jump away. That was a
Nice
fantastic move by Rhea. Gesture has to wait for his jump to be off cooldown before he can get onto the high ground. And in the meantime, the Spark can decide, do they try and focus Gesture, or do they just pressure the rest of the Spitfire and slow them down?
But they don't really make any decision, because they let Gesture just sit down in the low ground and main and live, and then they don't push all the way through. They had an opportunity there to take advantage of some bad positioning.
Maybe a little bit uncertain. We'll see if they're punished for that. That's a rally from Guard. And now the Spitfire really want to fight. That's a great way of identifying intent to engage. Godspeed's very low, had to use his own barrier on himself, and Fury wanted to chase that one up. He opts just to stay with the rest of his team for now, and the Spitfire are taking it slow and steady, and it's working. That Graviton. Ooh, Guard and Ocean, the only ones caught there. Nuss sits on the outside. They have no follow-up damage. Prophet goes down, though, regardless.
Oh, that's a tough loss there.
It seems like the Spitfire had a good start to that fight, Matt, in terms of Hangzhou being forced to have Bebe Transcendence there.
Yeah, and I mean, they needed to use Transcendence. You need to use Primal Rage, because Godspeed gets really low, and you want to keep that Zarya alive. They need to do something. London uses the rally to create space, right? They use rally, they push you into the high ground, they force the Spark down to the low ground. And then when Godspeed gets low, you need to invest some ultimates to keep up your Zarya. We talk about how important Zarya is over and over again. Now it's given London a little bit of an advantage here, Mitch. You know, you have the Primal Rage to use here for Gesture to come in. That's going to force Sound Barrier out. Now you can get a free grab self-destruct combo.
Gesture had to use the Primal Rage, but he was forced to go for that. Fury may have saved the Spitfire in this fight with a double with the self-destruct. Now the rest of the Spitfire, buoyed by that double kill, moving forward with their 4 players. It's 2 tanks and 2 supports, essentially. Godspeed looks reasonably charged up, so Spitfire have to respect that, and obviously Fury can't do anything to mitigate Zarya's left-click damage, so Godspeed is very dangerous to them right now.
No, and the only real damage-dealing hero that London has is Zenyatta up on the high ground. If you play in the low ground, you can't put the Zen in a position to die with Godspeed so charged up. So Spark able to, you know, just hold on in this fight. It'll be the rally used by London again as they get onto the point. They want to fight this.
No Smite bites off more than he can chew, and Bidosian gives him a mouthful of orbs. He'll be sat on the point now, and he'll have the freedom to Transcendence if the Spark move up. But they're pretty much split right now. They're pushed out on the right side. You can see Rhea and IDK. And on the low ground is the rest of the Hangzhou Spark. Bidosian comes in. It was a Transcendence that necessitated the use of the Transcendence here. And it's going to be a response from Bebe. Both teams use those Keys and Yada ultimates, and that's a rally coming out from the Spark. Sound Barrier from the Spitfire. A lot of ultimates being used, a lot of bluff and blunder, but just that one kill onto Bebe early, and it's traded out. Both and Yadas are missing. Prophet now needs to try and make something happen with this Graviton, and he gets the job done. Adora and Godspeed fall to that one. IDK, the last one standing for the Spark. I know there's still presence here.
The Spark may invest into this. No Smite here using Primal Rage. You do have IDK coming back with the Sound Barrier. Okay, so if he would have been able to survive a little bit longer, maybe you think about investing Barrier in. You do have a little bit of a spawn advantage, spawning pretty close there on the defense. You may have been able to make something out of that, but as soon as No Smite dies, that's it. You move away with the Sound Barrier. You save it for another day.
That one threw me for a loop. No Smite there actually choosing to commit to the fight with Primal Rage instead of just permanently absconding and leaving the point there. So he was switching, so it's reasonable. You waste a little bit of time on the attacking team if you can just stall for a couple seconds in a lost point. Fair enough. Prophet here pressuring No Smite's barrier, which is quite low. This forces No Smite to play aggressively. He can't sit back and defend or he'll be overrun. There's a rally there for the London Spitfire, and they might just choose to go for a less ultimate intensive fight.
Yeah, and the Spark have to use their Zarya bubble there early because No Smite's shield is just getting broken there by Prophet. He's just using the primary fire Zarya, just left-clicking into that. It'll be a Graviton Surge. from the Spark. Nothing with the self-destruct, though.
This fight represents a huge investment from the Spark, but after all those fancy ultimates have come out, they weren't able to find the kills. It was actually after the fact where Godsby's able to pick up two. Late in the fight, a charged up Zarya is a force to be reckoned with. And they eventually keep the Spitfire at bay. You can see those low percentage numbers next to the Hangzhou Sparks. Heroes means they spent a lot.
I mean, they needed to, right? They needed to stop London there, get the payload moving backwards. So you trade out this next fight. Let's say if you're the Spark, right? You can extend this. These fights go quite long in this meta. You're coming back with some ultimates to try and hold them before point B with, maybe like 25, 30 seconds on the clock. You feel pretty good about it.
Both teams sporting Reinhardt's now.
Shatter for gesture.
Taking a lot of damage. You see, he dropped his shield for a moment to fire strike. He got chunked for about 40% of his overall health. Again, thinking twice, always going to flank around, but I think this one's been pretty telegraphed, and it was. A Hangzhou Spark pretty much unperturbed by that Earth Shatter attempt from Jester, and now the Spitfire are going to pay for their impudence. Godsby, charged as you like. The Spitfire bundled out into their spawn.
That is best case scenario there for the Spark. You're going to get close to your Graviton Surge. 30 seconds on the clock, a lot like the position I was talking about they could find themselves in. You have a grab, and the fight probably goes long enough where you end up with Transcendence, and you're going to have a self-destruct and Earth Shatter here. The Spark in a good spot to hold.
Hangzhou played so conservatively on defense on A, they didn't chase up these low-health enemies. And in doing so, sort of didn't put themselves in harm's way, didn't take any risks, and now London have 7 seconds to finish the map. There's not much time. It's one more fight. Sound Barrier and Transcendence will have to lead the way. And it has to start about now. Godsby from the high ground has a Graviton Surge here. He's definitely, from the low ground should I say, definitely hoping to circumvent any sort of defense matrix. It's Prophet on the high ground with his own Graviton. Here we go. He gets eaten up though. Maria has that one happily, and that's a bad sign for the Spitfire. They needed that one to push this fight. That's going to be Sound Barrier for London, but the self-destruct on the backside finds Nuss. Yes, he got his ultimate off, but he goes down as a response, so they're pushed off the payload. Hangzhou Spark, that is an admirable defensive effort from a team that generally favors holding W and going aggressive. Throwing the Spitfire as well for a loop, and they'll be a little bit frustrated at such little progress on the attacking side. This sets up the Spark for a quick attacking push. We'll see if that'll be the case in just a moment. Welcome back, ladies and gents. That right there is the goal for the Hangzhou Spark now. Turns out a good defense means the offense gets a bit easier. Let's see the final moments here, man.
Get a grab put into the wall by Godsby that wraps a few players up. The self-destruct goes up in the sky, and when it kills Nuss, they don't want to really push through this door. They use the Shatter, then they're trying to push through after. But a lot of times, Lucio has such fantastic movement. Really, he's a tough target to hit, man, and you're able to just kind of get up on the cart and dance a little bit.
And of course, coming up later on today, New York Excelsior versus the Houston Outlaws, a team in Houston who's just recently taken a win off of the Hangzhou Spark. So they're starting to look a bit better. Hang around for that one. It's going to be a day. We'll see the Spark, again, come out with a Winston. Spitfire choose to defend with a Winston as well, which is fairly standard on this point, Matt. Gives a bit of flexibility.
It's safe. I mean, that's the safest way you can come out here on defense. Like I mentioned, if they come out with a Reinhardt-based composition, not a lot of mobility with Reinhardt, you'd see a lot of damage dealers who can access the high ground come out for the Spark.
Keep an eye on those health bars early on in these fights here, because if the Spark take sort of too much poke damage, they will have to back away or London may chase them.
So the Spark want to up to go in with a Reinhardt comp. So No Smite goes Max, which is off of Winston, goes to Reinhardt. So they want to use Reinhardt. He's got a great survivability. You're able to push up with a shield. No Smite does get low, so you're going to have to back out here. And they want to just kind of barrel through London. They want to use that speed boost of Lucio, IDK on the hero, and push right on through and just use the Reinhardt hammer to charge up, then use Reinhardt himself to build up Godsby's energy on Zarya.
Hangzhou now take a bunch of damage, but they heal it up, so their supports are getting ultimate charge from that little exchange. Gesture Primal Rage gets stunned up immediately, but not burst down as quickly as the Spark would have liked. With no Spike going by the wayside, the Spark have very minimal shielding now from the barrage they're receiving on the high ground from the Spitfire. IDK dropping means Godsby and Rhea need to sheepishly back up.
And you can see it there from Gesture's POV. When he jumps up to the high ground, he does damage with the Winston jump hack, but then the Tesla cannon, it just kind of cleaves all these different targets. It can attack multiple players at once, and it's just, it's not a ton of damage, but it's just annoying damage, right? It's just, you're chunking multiple players down. And when you don't have like a main healer on either of these teams, you're just running 3 kind of flex supports. It's very difficult to heal that all up.
First pick again for the Spitfire. This is how they want to start up the fight. Rally was already committed to the fight by the Spark, so it's likely that they try and get something for this. Maybe, 1/3 capture progress, get a tick on the point. But Ocean's in such a safe spot right now. We see the Transcendence go on the low ground, but Guard has just used Rally. So the Spitfire have enough healing to stay competitive in this fight. And even more than that, completely wash over the Spark in the end. And they didn't have to use any support ultimates except for that Rally, which is arguably the least impactful of the 3 between Lucio, Zenyatta, and Brigitte.
Yeah, when Bebe uses his Transcendence, Prophet on the other side is like, thanks. He just waits it out and then just drops down the Graviton Surge. They have no support ultimate because IDK died earlier in the fight and don't have the sound barrier yet, and it's just free kills there for London.
This is very efficient defending from the Spitfire. Again, in the same way as the Spark did, they're seeing low health targets on the enemy side, but they're not trying to follow them up. They're not putting them at risk to secure kills. Here's a Primal Rage, but this time the Spark already for a Jester gets caged up. Transcendence was committed to the fight, and now the London Spitfire lose sort of 2 ults for minimal value. Over the top goes the self-destruct, and Rhea, as he always tends to do, finds that Nuss kill in much the same way as Spark's offense, and this is the opening that Hangzhou were looking for. They get a time extension, and now the Spitfire go from looking very solid to very scared.
Yeah, and a lot of times we see the self-destruct set up by whether it's a grab or like an Earth Shatter. That time it's just Rhea throwing it to the back corner.
Just press Q, bro.
Yep, it splits off the London Spitfire. He's able to connect with Nuss, and then once that Lucio dies, that's your support ult that you have online for London. It all falls apart. And now the Spark have a good amount of time to get to that box. If they make it to the box of victory, they'll take the map.
This means that the Spitfire may only have one good fight. If they lose it, their margin will be exhausted.
It all depends on the shield war, right? If Gesture's kind of losing the shield war here, he's going to have to keep backing up. Then it puts us in 1-fight territory, which at this position right now, we are looking at one fight here for the Spark.
The Spitfire are a lot longer away from their spawn than the Spark are. That's the Earth Shatter. Prophet was knocked down, but a quick sound barrier to keep the Spitfire nice and vital pushing into the fight. Interesting, Bebe goes for the Transcendence, but Hangzhou were already kind of disengaging, so perhaps plans changed halfway through that fight. But if you're the Spitfire, you wipe your brow, the sweat off. You only had to use a sound barrier to stay competitive despite getting shattered.
I mean, they use Shatter, Transcendence, and Rally there, and they get
3-for-1 trade.
0 for it. Just sound barrier invested from London. So this will be the Graviton Surge. You get no smite stuck up inside of it. It's a little bit above the charge there. Is Gesture now trying to back up. Gesture's quite low. See Godsby, how aggressive you can be with Zarya.
The shield is kind of busted here, and the Sparks see that London can't just use their Reinhardt and shield every projectile.
This has to be a good grab.
Godsby is going to wait till he's probably a little bit closer before he uses Graviton Surge here. Like you said, has to be
dump
perfect.
it into the truck here if he wants.
Look at he's charged up though. He'd love a long fight here. Self-destruct, this will force the Spark back. They couldn't afford to lose anyone there, and they were disciplined with their positioning. Still 6 players.
It buys London time. It buys London space. It allows Gesture to get his shield back, so that's why you see the self-destruct. It forces him to back up. So now the Spark trying to engage again, as we're already down to 1 minute and 20 seconds here.
But Ocean needs to stay safe and sit back. If he gets caught in this Graviton, he'll want to get caught in it when he can Transcendence, but he doesn't want to get picked off early into the fight. Here's a sound barrier to Spark. Yes, they want to get aggressive. Graviton Surge doesn't hit anyone in particular. That was supposed to be the key. Bebe now gets caught up in the grab from the Spitfire, and theirs looks much better. 1 minute remains for the Spark. They have botched a couple fights in a row now, and are starting to look like they may let this one slip.
Oh, and that was their real key to victory there, Mitch. That Graviton Surge that Godsby had, you needed to land a good one. You land a good one, you get some swings, maybe a pin through from no smite, a big self-destruct. And that's map number 2 in favor of the Spark. Now you got none of it.
It wasn't even negated by Fury by way of the defense matrix. It just didn't connect.
It may have just flipped the payload and it stopped its progress and he thought it was going to go around. It's a tough one to lose.
I mean, the Spark have to go all in now. Win for a penny, in for the pound, as they say. To push up, running from both sides now. Earthshadow. Oh no, that didn't really work out. Nass was knocked down, and he does have a sound barrier. They got rid of him in time. That's going to hurt the Spitfire. They definitely wanted that Lucio ultimate, but another Graviton comes up. A quick charge for profit on that ability, and just swings for the fence. Gets two in the fire strike, and that'll be all she wrote. The London Spitfire, insurmountable defense, answers back to the Hangzhou Spark, and that's 2-0. Finally. Looks like they're hitting cruising altitude now, Matt. London looks sharp.
And the difference is Profit with his Graviton Surge uses there. They get 16 kills off of a Graviton Surge. You know, all the Graviton Surges there on Numbani. Godspeed only comes up with 6 kills with all of his ultimates.
That's your half-time here at the Overwatch League in the Spitfire. Looking far better than they had at the start of this season. The opposite could be said of their opponents, but we'll see how it all transpires when we return from our half-time break. Catch you in a mo.
The Overwatch League is brought to you by T-Mobile. High ground or low ground, T-Mobile has you covered. And by State Farm. Whatever life brings your way, State Farm is here to help life go right.
The London Spitfire looking hot to say the least. They're up 2-0 over the Spark here in our first half. Welcome back to the Blizzard Arena, everybody. It's Bucket here. I've got Brent, I've got Zoe, and we've got a lot to talk about. 2 very quick maps. It all started here in favor of the London Spitfire coming in. They were 1-2. They're now 1 map away from going 2-2 here in the Overwatch League. Let's look at how it happened going back to Ilios. Our first map, gesture on the monkey spells trouble for opponents.
Yeah, I am honestly so impressed with the way that London have actually cleaned up their play compared to last week. And I'm actually very shocked the fact that Hangzhou have not managed to clean up their own play in response to this. What it tells to me, I mean, London are looking so much better when it comes to running the Winston triple tank, triple support. It's not even funny. They are absolutely demolishing Hangzhou when it comes to running these mirror compositions when both of them are running the exact same heroes.
Yeah, but I think they identified their issues. They did have guard in, they had Profit on that Zarya, Fury on D.Va, and that is what has been working out for them in the moments during the last few matches where they actually excelled.
Now, I thought that Bedosian was the most fun player to watch in that first map, but who are you guys looking at? Because I'm always a Zenyatta fan. Brandon, I know you love your tank. Zoe, who are you guys looking at?
I think I was having my main eye on Adora. He had his debut on that second map, Numbani, and he did really well. They did lose. However, he had a few highlight-worthy moments, I would say, which really stood out to me. And I think it was great to see him actually going toe-to-toe and actually overtaking guard in some aspects when we looked at the stats throughout the map. Of course, towards the end, it
we'll check out Adora on Numbani in just a moment, but first, we need to set something up for you here, Bren. How many deaths total did we see from London? Because it's not a lot.
This is insane. This was is map 1. They had 4 deaths in total across the entirety of map 1. That is absolutely ridiculous. And this just goes, I mean, realistically, I was going to try and find a fancy little play for you, but all you need to do is look at the numbers for this one. You can see that London are a significantly better team compared to last week when they are just realistically making no mistakes. Hangzhou not able to really capitalize off anything, and it definitely shows here in the numbers.
That looks like Brent's eliminations over his last 6 games.
Absolutely
but let's
not.
take a look at map number 2, because if you're a Spitfire fan, I'll be honest, your attack was not beautiful. I was worried for you, but you pulled it out. How did they get it done? Let's walk through some of the early moments.
Yeah, a lot of it comes down to as well, Numbani is a map, there's a lot of high ground, which means you're going to be playing Winston because he can jump up to the ledges a lot of the time. And both these teams are mirroring, but when it came to the streets phase here in Numbani, when you're winding through the roads, you have to run Reinhardt. He's got a big wide shield to try and block off most of the damage. And that's where both of these teams ended up struggling a lot of the time.
Yeah, Dora had a good opener there, and he was actually the main reason why London couldn't get through the street phase. He managed to knock Gesture into the small room, onto the side, and then his team kept London
Oh, but this
in there.
grab, Zoe, the grab is on the wrong side of the court. Godspeed gets nobody in it, and then they get counter-grabbed, and that was the deciding moment of the game, Brent.
Yep, absolutely was, Puckett, and it was just clearly said right there and then. The ultimate usage from Hangzhou needs to be worked on in the second half. They need to fix this up now because they were wasting ultimates. The coordination was just not there from them. You can see here in the tank comparison as well, it is just realistically not a good showing from Nosmite. Gesture, we like to big him up as a Winston player. On the Reinhardt, he was outclassing Nosmite. He's not known as a Reinhardt player normally. You know, there is this sort of rumor going around recently. I know certain analysts going to call out Johnny, reinforce Larson out for this one. He likes to big up, or big down, I guess Gesture's Reinhardt play.
Right.
Doesn't like to talk it up too much. But in this game, it wasn't even close between them.
Keep your eyes on the main tanks. They may be the difference maker in the second half. Before we go, real quick check-in with our audience. Who's cheering for the Spark tonight? And who here wants to cheer on the 2018 champions to another map win? It's your London Spitfire. All right, London, the household favorites for now. That's going to do for halftime. 2 more games when we come back.
They don't just play for a team. They play for every fan, every rival, every moment, every match. And when everyone watching expects the best, they perform with the best.
Sometimes the truth is
Stranger than fiction, stranger than that particular dance move. All right, I like this one. Yep.
Spark, need that type of positivity on stage.
Now, do the Doug. No, okay, never mind. Great to be back, ladies and gentlemen. Mitch Leslie here, or otherwise known as your grandma's couch. Matt Morello, otherwise known as would need a ladder to climb onto your grandma's couch. It's good to be back here at the Overwatch League and already 2 maps down for the Spitfire. So they're happy about this. I mean, we have had this issue with the league for the last sort of week. Not an issue, it's a happy little issue because we are having trouble predicting the winners of a lot of these matches here. The Spitfire look just a different team, like so many teams have looked across the week.
Look, I mean, we saw them, experiment with Guard in the lineup last week. Now he's a mainstay, it seems like, with Prophet on this Zarya. We do have some subs here coming in, though. For the Spark, it seems like they're going back to a lot of the lineup they ran on map number 1. So yeah, comes in for Adora.
Honestly, it's a little bit hard to see the difference in hero pool between Buzzy and Adora when they're subbed out, because they're usually damage dealer players, but this is an interesting one.
It's the biggest one that they make, right? It's a lot like map number 1, except now you're switching out the main thing. Gushui comes in here for no smite. We saw how Gushui was.
Oh, Revenge is in too.
Yeah, and Revenge comes in. We saw how good Gushui was during the Overwatch World Cup in that main tank role. We'll see what he brings. Maybe he can. I was trying to think of another word besides spark, but maybe he can provide a spark for the spark.
This is why you're not the play-by-play caster.
Look, you come up with all these crazy sayings. I have a few of my own. I haven't decided to unleash them yet. I'm kind of hold them in my back pocket.
The trick is, do you have to patent them first so you can actually?
Look, it's stage 1. It's stage 1. We got to work our way in. Yeah, exactly.
That's exciting. I can't wait, man. I'll give you your report card on this.
You'll be waiting a while. No, trust me.
So a big change to the Hangzhou Spark. 3 players. Look, we actually saw this kind of technique used in the past, sometimes just to jog the momentum for teams. You talked about them needing a bit of a spark. Well, they might have it here.
A lot like last year. Obviously the league starts last year, a lot of new teams coming in, trying to figure it out. There's so many changes with rosters at the beginning of the season last year, subbing players in and out between maps. And then towards the end, it started to go away. Teams decided on a set 6. Kind of like London. It seems like this is the 6 that are going to be out here today. The Spark, they're still changing everything up. Gushui drops down. You see they're going to run Winston on defense, like I mentioned earlier. Winston, great mobility. You're not really going to have a dive target. If they ran Reinhardt on defense, London would go back, play some damage dealers, just trying to poke at range, just chip them down with damage over time.
Rio cops the brunt of that early damage. He gets stunned up, then discorded, then desuited. Great result for the Spitfire. The fact that they actually get a pick early on, they must have kind of surprised the Spark, just blowing in out from the airlock. And the Spark, I just have to back away here. And if the Spitfire want to push, it's likely they can find more kills. What they don't want to do is sort of limit their own team fighting capacity by potentially losing heroes. So they just put pressure on the point now. They say, Spark, come and challenge us.
And that's what happens when Zarya is so charged up. You see those alternate fires at range from Prophet, just able to take players out. So far, Godspeed really low. The melee helping to finish him off as London has complete control of this first point.
Prophet punch! Gushui not far behind there as well. Yeah, I mean, Prophet
You're better at that than me.
Not just a financial statement, also, the Spitfire's first week of the Overwatch League. I just cannot get over how different their second has been so far. It's actually mental.
They look like 2 completely different teams.
But
if you watch them in week 1, you'd be like, are these the same 6 players coming out here in week 2?
You never feel bad seeing that, though, right? You always, as I have often said, you do indeed love to see a team that can recover from first week jitters. Just didn't think it would be the Spitfire, but now they look much rejuvenated. Rallies from both sides. Hangzhou a little bit later, so they'll have that healing a little bit longer. Fury in the backline, though. Self-destruct. Oh, Godspeed caught out by that one. There wasn't really much Gushui could do to protect this whole team, given that he was suspended in midair and a Spitfire. It's a perfect start to the fight for them. Nas encroaching on that sound barrier, which is going to make this Spitfire roster even more durable. They have all the ultimates they need, Matt. They might just save them for next round at this rate. Holy smokes!
Don't even need them.
Breaking the sound barrier. I love this Spitfire. It's more like X6 experimental, high altitude, super fast surveillance jets. Nice job. London Spitfire looking good. We're back in just a second. The Spark, look for an answer. if you see the Spitfire players sort of blinking feverishly, it's probably because they're suffering whiplash from how fast they went from 0 to 100 on that attacking side. Whoa, man. Let's have a look at this replay, Matt.
Yeah, we talked a bit about earlier in the series how, it's the Reinhardt or the Lucio, setting up some of these self-destruct kills. You see, two great uses, one great use of a Graviton Surge, and then the other one, they're completely eaten up by Fury. So Godsby at the end tries to use his grab. Probably wouldn't have turned the tides. London had a great advantage of the point, but Fury comes in, eats it right there. Prophet realizes that the Spark are up on the high ground, can use the grab. Everybody drops for London. You start building percentage on the point. I know, it's really the difference maker in this series, the Graviton Surge uses, right? The Godsby we saw on Nimbani. Didn't get a great use of his at the end. Prophet does. London wins.
This is, how do I put this?
This is a very interesting composition.
Yes, it's spicier than the hot wings you had the other day.
So, Reaper is good against Winston. Reaper is a hero where does a ton of damage to tanks, can obviously get some lifesteal with putting down some damage. It's just really hard, Reaper, with limited mobility to get him in range. So that's why you need the Lucio to just speed boost him in. Yeah, you're using the Moira to just pump him up with heals, and you're trying to put him in a position to make a play.
He's just tickling from this range, Godspeed. Can't really make a dent, but the Sparks still respect the fact that he's there.
And Gesture doesn't want to jump up to the high ground to put pressure because the Reaper will chunk him down. As you see, as soon as Gesture comes up, he's about half HP.
Oh, look at London have to respect that he's there as well. The Reaper getting that damage in, but Kishway being lost already for the Spark means that, again, their ability to shake off a lot of this sort of incidental or poke damage, as we call it, is not there. He doesn't have a shield. So there's less of a defensive zone for the Spark to play around when they move to this point. They had to just go forward, get aggressive, play in the chokes. Fury's low, desuited, dead. Revenge Godspeed, though. Quick fire back across the broadside from the Spitfire, though. And Nuss, by the way, German for nuts, because that's what he is. Nice.
And they end up using the Graviton Surge. Rhea drops it down in the back of the point. And you do get some kills, but London uses their own grab. They rotate around the other side. They're able to pick it up. I think I would have liked the grab use from the Spark if you would have had Gushue there as well. Reinhardt can put so much burst damage down into the grab. Then maybe you would have been able to pick up those 2 kills and then move on and save some of the players stuck in your own.
One tick. The Spark will take it at this stage. It was, again, not a fight that favored them even from the beginning, having lost their main tank, their anchor. Godspeed just peeking over the shield, daring the Spitfire to challenge. Again, if he gets stunned for a second, he's probably going to be dispatched of very quickly. Not the healthiest, not the chonkiest hero. And oh dear, this is yeah. Rhea. Well, Rhea, let me know if you find any new craters. Let me know if you find the golf club that they left up there, and sayonara.
This is really risky for the Spark because they're kind of stuck on this comp. Because Rhea usually is their diva player. And with Godsby playing Reaper, you would have to, switch off of the Zarya, which you're already pretty close to grab, and then you're going to go all the way back. You're going to reset the ultimates of both of those heroes. Revenge probably wants to play Zenyatta at that point. You're going to lose that. And then you're giving London just a huge advantage in terms of ultimate economy. This is it seems like there's still a lot of time here for the Spark. If they don't make this comp work, they're in a lot of trouble.
Back to space. Hangzhou rating back. Houston, we have a problem. They respond. Yes, we know. We just played you. We're aware of that. 1 minute, 5 seconds remain.
Everyone's like, I'm not going first.
Yeah, that's kind of the problem, isn't it? When you have to draw straws to see who goes in. Oh, nasty. Gushue disintegrated. Nothing left of the men. Call lessons here from Revenge. So the Hangzhou tried to make something happen there. I mean, losing the Reinhardt early in these fights is just crippling.
And I'm so surprised. The Reaper's ultimate Death Blossom, it's pretty easy to counter in terms of, if you looked at all the ultimates in the game right now, you can just bash it. You can use a support ult. You have 3 of them here for London to get around it. To commit to it for this long, really relying on getting a good one.
Okay, Gesture gets Earth Shatter, but he had Primal Rage, so he's not really worried about the damage, and he can still get back and do some more work. Graviton Surge being used here, an attempt at the Death Blossom for Godspeed, but he finds nothing! Prophet just sends him packing back to the afterlife. Really don't know if he's alive or undead at this point. It doesn't really matter because he did straight up nothing in that fight. Bazzy cut down. Gushue forced to look on, suspended in midair like a bad circus act he didn't sign up for. And that's it. No time left for the Spark.
Unbelievable. Can you believe this roster? The Spitfire go from 0 to absolutely mental
and get that 3-0 already in maps. It's been a lightning quick series, but that's how they want to do. The Spitfire were working into a headwind for the last week, and now it looks like their fates have reversed. A very clean scoreline. Just that 1 point given up to Hangzhou so far. The Spark just look despondent right now, Matt. Again, it all started with that match against the Outlaws. We started to see some of those flaws. It was already teased on the desk. They said, look out for Hangzhou. They played this fast and loose kind of Overwatch. There are weaknesses. There are cracks in the armor. It looks like the Spitfire have been able to exploit some of those there, and you can just see the look on their faces.
It was high risk, high reward for the Spark. Running that Reaper at the end, there's nothing they can do about it. They don't win the third map, they lose the series, but we do have one more map left in the series. We'll see you right after this quick break.
The Overwatch League is powered by Intel. Game, record, stream without compromise on Intel Core i7. And by Omen by HP, the official PC and display of the Overwatch League.
Hello, welcome back to what could be considered an analyst's nightmare, the Overwatch League right now. No one's really been able to predict these results. The desk are all going to be incorrect on this one, if I'm not mistaken. 3-0 already to the London Spitfire. They are back. They're back.
I expected the Spark to come out today and play much better.
Looks like despondent shoulders.
I was in the back. I was like, I expected this to be a really close game, but London has come out. They've looked sick. I mean, since they put Prophet in now to play Zarya full time, and no, we don't know if we'll see Birdring come back in, maybe play some Brigitte or maybe some
would you change
damage dealing heavy
now?
Comps, but no, they seem to be clicking on all cylinders.
I don't see why they'd sort of change up their lineup right now. But according to the Scrimbuck Stock Exchange, Hangzhou were an incredibly hyped up team coming into the Overwatch League. Or the matches they played off stream and in practice, everyone was like, these guys are legit, but looks like that early momentum has sort of run out on them. Check this out, Matt. Yeah. Fastest point B capture on Horizon Lunar Colony goes to the London Spitfire, to the surprise of no one after watching that.
And that's a solid, 30 seconds plus on the LA Gladiators. I mean, that is almost as fast as you can possibly do that. Look, I think when the Spark come out on their attack, and when they come out with Rhea on Zarya and Godsby on Reaper, and they stay on it for that long, you're kind of stuck. Like, if it doesn't work, like, it's a loss, like we saw. Like, if they take point A, they probably switch immediately going into point B.
Sure.
But when you play it for so long and you're building up these ultimates and you're playing around these ultimates, like I was surprised they stayed on Reaper for that long playing around Death Blossom. It's not like a huge game-changing ultimate.
It just seems like it's really easy to mitigate or shut down. Firstly, you can just put a shield over on the top of him, or you can stun him, or you can bubble the target.
He usually was dead within seconds.
All right, so Adora's back in. So we saw Adora mostly play the Brigitte. We didn't really see anything maybe out of that ordinary. No Smite comes back in for Gushue. I think Gushue had a bit of a hard run of it there as well, coming into a map where it doesn't seem like Hangzhou set themselves up for success. I'll be honest about that one. And Bebe comes in for revenge. That Moira for revenge didn't really didn't really hit the spot.
And I think you're still experimenting with this roster if you're the Spark. Right, you have Assassin coming in. They signed another player, so we'll see if he plays the off-tank role. With Rhea playing very well, at least in the earliest season. This is the map that we saw Spark play against the Houston Outlaws a little bit earlier in the week. They looked very strong on it. Look, I mean, it's great to look strong in the game 4. It'd be nice to win the series. If we say every map matters, it doesn't matter if you lose in the series 3-1. I mean, you're racking up some of these map wins at the end. It doesn't really matter. You got to win the series.
The reality is we have 20 teams, and we don't have 20 games per stage, right? So map differential matters a lot towards the end of each stage, because there'll be a bunch of teams that are all like 2 and 6, or 4 and 4, or whatever it may be. It's 7 games, should I say? So a lot of teams will be quite close in terms of their record, but we'll need the map differential to differentiate them. There you go. That's why we play a map 4. So the winner of this series has already been decided, but this map is still important to Hangzhou and to us as people who are interested in how they bounce back.
The Spark are going to play close up with this composition. When you have Reinhardt on defense here, you want to play on that first corner. You want to try and get maybe like 3 fights here. It'll be interesting what London does. Do they come out of the spawn, see this, swap some DPS? That's when you probably see the Spark speed boost all the way back. They're going to give up a ton of space otherwise, though. So see how London plays into this. If they did some watching of the Houston match, this is exactly how the Spark started off that match.
And it paid off.
Yes.
It looked good for them. So again, No Smite holds the corner. You can actually see around that corner, even if Reinhardt's head is not around the corner, just because the camera, zooms out behind you when your shield is up. It's quite helpful. Godsby, again, just wants to poke a little bit. It's unlikely the Spark commit to a fight until the Spitfire are pushed appreciably away from the spawn. So here's something that the wrinkly big brains of the Outlaws didn't really go for, this high ground rotation from the Spitfire. I like it. I actually really do like it. It's forced Hangzhou away immediately.
It's forced them all the way back to their staircase to go up. I think you just send one person down to move the cart. You just put Yuri down there as D.Va. He can fly right back up. Get up here if the next team fight happens. And I do think on some maps where we talk about how defense, you can come out with a Winston first here. On Dorado, if you did come out with Winston, I think you still see the threat of 4 DPS comps, as No Smite goes pretty deep.
Oh, just to know he's caught. Yeah. Just that extra swing, dropping the shield, taking the damage. And you saw he was separate from the rest of the Spitfire. Spitfire were already out. Gesture fancied one more bite at the apple, as it were. And it was full of worms. Hate to see it.
Just lobbing these alternate fires at range here for Zarya from the high ground. Able to get so much damage, especially in this meta when they're all clumped up together. A lot of the teams. So it'll be a grab early here from Prophet. Trying to catch players off top. They do use Transcendence here.
He may not have known as well for sure that Bebe had Transcendence or not. He's probably happy enough to exchange those ultimates. It was a fairly early charge for Prophet. You can see Godspeed is still 87%.
They got the cart through the choke here.
Yeah, I mean, it held them in place while the rest of the Spitfire moved up. Godspeed, though, is probably waiting for the Spitfire to converge enough in one spot for him to use his own Graviton Surge, and he'd be looking to win the fight there and then. But you can't see it, but Fury's on the right of Godspeed right now. So Fury is keeping tabs on Godspeed, and he's going to try and eat that Graviton if he possibly can. He actually went around the backside, but he was watching.
The teams have swapped sides here. London is still on offense, playing from the defensive side. They rotate all the way around.
This is only bad for the Spark if London sort of gets onto the payload. Jester tried to go for a shatter. He is silenced very rapidly, but No Smite's taken a bunch of damage. The Spitfire don't find any kills during the duration of that Transcendence. That's why this might get a little bit nasty for them. That was an attempt, I think, from No Smite to knock Jester's shield out of the way of that self-destruct. He doesn't connect, but still the Spark come up with the results. IDK sound barrier committed right at the end of the fight.
A minute and 20 left here. You do have Prophet's grab coming online. We'll see what route they decide to take. I know they used the grab the last time, and they end up forcing out Transcendence, but there's no follow-up.
I mean, it's up on the high ground. It allows them to get some kind of cart progress, but that progress really isn't great now because where the payload's going, it's all the way back through the choke. So we'll see if they try and maybe like a speed boost through the choke. They get speed boost underneath where the Spark are playing right now and go up the stairs behind them.
I mean, if they can force someone from the Spark to drop down early, or get them isolated, that would be perfect. But you notice that the Spark preemptively dropped down just to make sure they're all on the same page. But that's the speed boost you were talking about. So they rash through the choke, but now the Spark have their own speed boost. They're trying to catch the Spitfire on the wrong foot. Self-destruct goes up here. Let's see how Gesture sets this up. That's pretty good. He knocks in a no smite. Gesture sets up a perfect 2K for Fury's self-destruct. And that'll be the Spitfire now. Again, 6-4 in players as this team fight continues. The Spark actually end up committing the rally to the fight because there's only 22 seconds left. If there's some chance that they could have stopped the Spitfire there, it would have probably meant a map win for them.
See if the Spark try and get one more fight out of this. We saw them come back and fight it the other day against the Outlaws. As here's going to be Gesture. The pin there gets them out.
That actually requires some precision as the Reinhardt charging into the Graviton, because the way that you clip, as in like the way that you sort of interact with the edges of other characters, you obviously only want to hit the enemy Reinhardt. But like we saw before, No Smite missed Gesture, knocked the wrong person out of the grab, so the shield was still there for London to protect against a self-destruct. I digress though, as Bebe just got absolutely knocked on his rear end. And again, just the setup there with Gesture's Shatter is going to give London a great start in this fight.
And those fights are the toughest to lose if you're the Spark, because they only invest one ultimate. You drop right away. You don't even really have a chance to use like your grab that's allowing the other team to build up some of their support ultimates again, the Graviton Surge, and not that impactful then, because you're going to have to get some kind of combination between the No Smite and then the Rhea self-destruct plus the Graviton Surge here. Which you end up dumping some of those ultimates in. London can save, they can come back in that next fight and take it.
So it's most likely that it's a Graviton Surge plus self-destruct. Maybe No Smite doesn't need to commit his Earth Shatter to set up that combo. So here it is. No Smite needs to charge Gesture out of this one. Gets in there, nicely done. Good connection from No Smite, removes Gesture, and then Gesture and Nuss fall as a result. He doesn't commit his Earth Shatter like we predicted, and that means the Spark now have a different combo to play the next defensive fight.
And with Gesture stuck in the Graviton Surge, you're like, well, what could he possibly do in that situation? And without Shatter up to like counter Shatter when the charge comes through, there's really nothing. I mean, if he had Earth Shatter, he could shatter down no Smite, and then he could put his shield back up. But in that type of scenario, there's nothing. You see Spark getting quite aggressive. They don't want to keep giving up this space, and they're allowing Godspeed to build up towards another Graviton Surge already at 60+%.
IDK does not want to get hit by that right click from Prophet. And there's a Graviton quickly committed to the fight now. Earth Shatter. That one came out from No Smite to try and stop the Spitfire, and it kind of worked. I mean, Gesture wasn't able to knock him out of the way, so the Spark survived that barrage of ultimates. Not to be confused with the barrage from Farah, who is just not going to survive long in this particular setup. Rhea down to half. No Smite. Oh, No Smite. His shield's breaking as well. He has to back up. Look at that hasty bubble given to No Smite now. He does get quickly healed back up. Repair pack thrown in there. No Smite again. Low! He's taken down. The Graviton Surge committed to no avail by the Spark. And this is definitely going to propel the Spitfire forward. Bidoshin goes down. Nuss caught out by Bebe here. Maybe a turn. 4v5. Spitfire with a disadvantage, but the grab turns it around at just the right time. Prophet, Young Money coming up with the goods just when it's required. And in overtime, the Spitfire will get to the power plant and the last phase of this attack.
And we saw a little bit there when Prophet's standing on the cart and Rhea's self-destruct is right there. He times his own personal bubble perfectly. He gets all that damage. And then as like he's kind of launched into the sky from the effect, then that's when he throws down the Graviton Surge and he just launches one alternate fire right into it. Puts down some extra damage. As a self-destruct, you can get a ton of charge on this Zarya.
I mean, it causes a swing in the fight. Even if you're at a player disadvantage, you can very quickly fix that or even get a player advantage, which is pretty much the name of the game right now.
And it's got to be frustrating for the Spark with how this series has gone. 2 times be so close to holding London. Having London just take it to him. As guard does drop down here early, so you lose No Smite in the main tank as London's going to invest into this. They're going to sound barrier. It's going to force Transcendence out here from the Spark as London backs up a little bit. The Gesture gets a little bit too low to re-engage.
It's definitely a questionable investment. I think they're at the point now where they have one more fight left.
Yeah.
It's possible that, Fury doesn't try and self-destruct there. if he didn't know that, you know, Garb was about to get run over. That all kind of happened at the same time. But then after that, the Spitfire did commit ultimates willingly into a fight that they're already at a distinct disadvantage. So that later part of the fight was questionable, and it leaves it now with one more opportunity to get things done. Both Zarya's should have the Graviton Surges online. A D.Va eating one of those up here would be huge for the team that's able to negate the Grav from the other side. See, Fury's looking for it here. Both teams going for the rally. Big knockback on No Smite. He's put out of position pretty heavily, and that shield is very low. Rhea just trying to chunk down Jester and make it a little bit harder for him to move forward with any form of confidence. Self-destruct there for Rhea, but if he gets rid of his mech, he can't eat the Graviton Surge. That was a grab from Godspeed. Rhea's going to set this one up now with a self-destruct in. It gets Prophet. That's a good one. Prophet had the grab from London. A key ultimate taken away from the Spitfire. And then Jester gets run over. But Ocean's sitting in the back again, just trying to do his bit for his team, but he's pushed off the payload.
And it's an emergency landing for the Spitfire.
Still 3-0 in maps, and London are still pleased with this result. They can still win the fourth as well. We'll see if they can get the sweep in just a moment. Don't go too far. On your screen, No Smite, setting up a lot of those key combos alongside Rhea. Getting those Graviton Surge, Self-Destruct, Reinhardt Charge combos. Again, a lot of moving parts in some of these win conditions for these teams. And you can see the difference between a team, Matt, who knows how to set them up to get the most out of that bomb, and those that kind of just miss the mark.
It's a nice shatter at the end from No Smite. So yeah, this is exactly what I'm going to talk about. As see, just charges behind. Your shatter knocks a few players up in the sky. It's kind of one in favor of the Spark, but that's really like the exclamation point on it. Puts it away in favor. Let's see if they can get a map win here, though. Be big for them in terms of their overall standing in the league right now.
Hangzhou look toothless on the attack.
Early pick.
But they find an opening here in Ocean. Yeah, that's going to leave the Spitfire unhappy.
And that's what I kind of talked about with on defense. Like, sometimes you may not go with Winston on defense here on Dorado because there's no static shield. Teams will be in the spawn and they'll run like a Hangzhou Mercy Widowmaker and they'll damage boost the Widowmaker. Hangzhou just fires out a Sonic Arrow. You can see if anybody's behind the wall. Bidoshin, maybe he is. He's loading up some orbs to throw out, and then you get an easy headshot there, and then you switch right off.
Just to knock back as well. You can see the Sparker trying to overrun the Spitfire there just by using the speed boost. But Nuss and Ko are ready to fire back. Let the Rhea just a little bit of damage, has to get the repair pack given.
And it's crazy to see like how much one kill just buys so much space here for the Spark. Just remember how long it took London to get to this point. And the Spark just on the back of that one Widowmaker pick, maybe he'll take point A just because of it.
Yeah, No Smite going down. I think the Spark sort of run out of gas at this point. Yes, it's good that they pick up guard, but the value of a Brigitte as opposed to Orion, it's not comparable when you're trying to outright win a team fight there. You saw that it was a positional issue for guard. It wasn't necessarily that he was in the wrong spot. It's that a quick burst of speed from IDK lets Hangzhou quickly turn a situation that seems safe for London players into one where, oh god, I'm surrounded.
So now Prophet going to get close to the ground. He'll be able to get this before Godspeed gets his down. And the big thing is it's
ooh, just before No Smite gets there.
How wild is it that Bidoshin gets taken out first, right? He gets shot by the Widowmaker. He falls early, and he ends up with his Transcendence before Bebe on the other side.
I mean, he's on that salty run back, fam. He's out here to prove a point. And that was a similar situation of Bebe just not being behind the Reinhardt shield. And, like, you don't always think about this, even at this level. You know, they're like, okay, we need to get on the high ground. Hangzhou aren't thinking, oh, if No Smite isn't exactly 0.25 meters ahead, our Zenyatta will die. Here's a speed boost. I wonder if Hangzhou want to fight. The answer is yeah, probably. And great disengage from the Spitfire. Not only was it a Brigitte rally committed to that engagement attempt, but also the speed boost. Now the Spitfire have a chance to fire back. Graviton Surge coming in, not eaten, so that one is going to stick. Both teams go for the grab, and a self-destruct drop in by Rhea. Great setup once again. Jester falling foul of that one. No smite. Big Earth shattered. And you see Prophet and Guard, they're sleeping on the job. Fury only just got back into his mech, and it's going to be a short-lived one with Guard falling. It's a matter now of stalling out a little bit here for London. Hangzhou, one way or another, are going to take this first checkpoint.
And when No Smite uses the Earth Shatter, prevents Jester from any type of combination. He has his Earth Shatter as well. And you know, with Fury's mech up in the sky, No Smite puts his shield up, right? You land that Earth Shatter, then everybody goes kaboom for the Spark as No Smite uses the Shatter first, knocks him down, not able to combo it. How do you get a use of it here if you're the London Spitfire? As now, yeah, they were on the high ground. They're going to drop to the low down. They're going to play on the cart.
Godsby would like to play on this high ground. Not only, if the Spitfire drop down and leave their supports up on the high ground, Godsby can then chase after them by walking on that ledge. Whoever thought Zaya? Such good balance. 70, well, look at how quickly that ultimate is charging up now. 86 for Godsby and 80 charge to boot. That had to be a big Earth Shatter from Jester, but it kind of falls flat. So did Bebe, to be fair, but he was the only player to really suffer the incapacitation from Earth Shatter, and Prophet gets overrun once again. Hangzhou Spark making great use of speed boost to quickly out-position and out-maneuver the Spitfire. And now the payload will roll on. Remember, 2 checkpoints and 55 meters is where London got to. So really, we're over halfway there for the Spark.
And Prophet was just not able to build up any type of energy there to put down some damage on Zarya. We're on with Godsby sitting at above like 80%. You know, for the match, you know, Godsby sitting at 65% average energy on this map to 56 from Prophet.
Yeah, we were watching him. He's got all this charge, 80 charge. So Godsby now wants to work up again. Obviously, the number under his aiming reticle is his charge in percentage, I guess. It goes up to 100. Graviton Surge comes in. Transcendence.
This could be big.
Strike thrown in over the top. The setup is beautiful once again. Just 1 kill is enough for the Spark here, especially after No Smite killed Guard on the pin. Beautiful setup. Hangzhou, again, come to their senses just so late in the day. The Spitfire took them by surprise, and both these teams are going to be 2-2 after this.
And the timing with the pin is perfect. Like, you don't want to do it too early. No pin gesture into the wall. He's still getting some heals, and then put the shield back up. He just waits for the last possible moment to use the pin.
It's not easy as well, because there is some charge up, like there is some startup delay on the ability of the pin. So, you know, you're not charging at full speed as soon as you hit the key. You need to time it a little bit. Jester caught a bit of damage, but was shielded up very quickly. And Adora, yeah, that's what we saw actually happen previously to Guard. It was overrun in pretty much the same spot. So the Spitfire barrel around the corner and bundle the Spark out.
So, you know, Prophet's been holding on this grab for a while because you really haven't had a great opportunity to use it. It's allowed Godsby to get basically 2. So you do have the grab and the shatter combo for the Spark. You don't have a self-destruct to go with it. You have all the combos here for London. This Guard gets caught off guard there, playing a little bit too forward. A shatter. You don't even have to use the grab. That's huge.
This is terrible for the Spitfire.
Yeah,
the payload is so close. They haven't not once been able to set up their combo the way they would have liked to. Hangzhou Spark has beaten them to the punch every single time. And it looks like this one was thrown for a knockout. Guard going to appear. He actually did pile drive onto the payload, but it was a very small distance that he dropped down. Nasya just disintegrates inside that Graviton. A little bit awkward. He's rather late to the party. Not fashionably late, like that really awkwardly late. Like everyone's already gone to bed and you arrive and say what's going on. Yeah, that kind. 3-1. So the Spitfire do take away the W in this series, and these two teams are mirror images of one another. The Spitfire 0-2 in week 1, now 2-2. The Spark start off so well. Very sloppy week 2, or just a tough one in general. The fact of the matter is, both of these guys now even on win-loss.
Yeah, it's pretty similar to the way the Spark series went earlier in the week against the Outlaws. They lose the first 3, they come on strong, and they win the last one. It's got to be much better in the early parts of these series here for the Spark. You can't rack up some losses early in the season.
Now, out of Godsby's 35 eliminations on that map, 32 of those occurred at high Zarya charge, which is not a huge surprise considering what we saw from him. We watched him, we saw him do the work. And again, London never had a fight on defense that they really could set up properly, but they're happy enough with the win. We'll be back with some more insights from this match in just a moment.
Welcome back, everybody. I am here with Guard from London Spitfire. Guard, congratulations on the win. Now, compared to your previous matchups, I feel like London Spitfire today was completely dominating. You guys seem like a totally different team. What was going well for you guys?
처음에 두 경기 좀 아쉽게 졌었는데 제가 브리기테로 들어가면서 준영이가 자리를 하면서 서로 경쟁전에서 합도 많이 맞추고 그러면서 서로 잘 맞으면서 게임이 잘 풀렸던 것 같습니다.
The previous matchups, we actually, weren't performing that well, but after we made the change as to where Prophet went to Zarya and after I went to Brig, I feel like everything went well and that's how we won. All right, cool. One more question, Guard. So all of our analysts and our casters actually predicted that Hangzhou Spark was going to win, but you guys proved them wrong. Do you have anything you want to say to them?
항저우도 엄청 잘하는 팀이라 그렇게 뽑으실 줄 알고 있었고요. 저희도 노력한 만큼 괜찮은 모습 나온 것 같아서 기분 좋은 것 같습니다.
I could also agree because Hangzhou Spark is a very, very strong team, so I don't doubt that. I'm actually happy that they predicted that Spark was going to win, but I'm actually very, very proud and happy that our team performed to our full potential, so thank you guys. Alrighty, that's all I have. Back to you guys, Uber and Mr. X.
Fam, to be out here trying to steal their microphones, guard, we see you. Damn, this guy needs initiation. Anyway, here's our standings. After that match, you see where the Spitfire sit. So they're at 9th now. They've moved the way up and only a -1 differential, so they're happy with that.
And there's an opportunity for them to go a little bit higher because we do have the Defiant playing later today. If they were to lose, then London could move up yet again. So London is a huge win for them.
Basically, it's going to be very hard to make sense of the muddled mixture until we get to the end of sort of week 4, week 5.